Okay, welcome. I'm Jason Gumpert from MSDynamicsWorld.com, and we are here for a new session in our Fall 2014 BI webcast series. Today I'm happy to welcome back Tom Totten. He's a BI strategist with Columbus and also a longtime participant in MS Dynamics World webcasts. We are really glad to have him back today to look at how Power BI and Dynamics CRM 2013 and 2015 can work together. It's certainly a topic that has become a key part of Microsoft's messaging with regard to its business solutions, and so it will be very interesting to see what this technology can mean for an organization in practice. I just want to add that we do invite you to add your feedback and ask questions today during Tom's presentation. You can use the Q&A block or the chat that you'll see to the right of the slides. I'd also just like to take a moment to recognize our event series sponsors and thank them for their support. They are Bioanalytics, DeFacto, Solver, Target, and Zap. Without further delay, Tom, let me hand it off to you.
Thank you, Jason. And thank you again for inviting me to be able to present some information about business intelligence. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on what part of the world you're in. What I'm going to do today is present to you in 3 easy steps how you can take a Power BI report and display it inside of your CRM dashboards. So, to begin with, Jason gave me a good introduction. I'm a solution consultant with Columbus in the areas of CRM and business intelligence. So you've got my contact information in there. If for some reason we don't answer all of your questions today, feel free to shoot me an email, and I'll be more than happy to find the answers for you. So to begin with, what we're going to do is we're going to build a Power BI report. I'm not really going to get into the weeds as far as entering data and all of that kind of stuff, and I'm going to show you a few examples how we're going to connect to things, and then once we've gotten a report together, then we're going to go in and take a look at how we upload it to Power BI in Office 365. And then we'll go into CRM and we'll build a dashboard and display what we created inside of that dashboard. And it's very easy to do. I think the majority of the time spent here will be on, or for you, would be for building your Power BI report. The rest of it is really pretty easy. So to start off with, we're going to build your Power BI report. The first thing that you need to do is you need to connect to your data sources, and then you'll need to do some editing of your data, maybe even some creating of calculations and manipulating your data a little bit. And you'll create your report, whether it be a pivot table or a Power View report. So that's what we're going to do today. So to start off with, I need my slide to go to number 5. When we open up, get a little pointer here too. So when we open up a fresh workbook, and I'm going to actually do this for you and show you how this works. You want to go to Power Query and connect to CRM Online through your OData feed. So we go to Power Query and Power Pivot are add-ins to Excel, free downloads. And then we'll go over to our data sources. We'll get external data from other sources, and we'll select the OData feed. You also have the ability to access other data sources, and there's plenty of them. But one of the things that is kind of new here, and I don't know exactly when it came out, is the ability for Power Query to access an analysis services database. So if you've got cubes, you can now connect to your cubes right inside of Power Query, and then we can mash that data together. So I'm going to kind of show you that as well. When you're connecting to your OData feed, you're going to go into CRM under Settings, inside of Customizations, and then you're going to click on Developer Resources. And on the bottom of the list here, you've got the Organizational Data Service. So what you do is just click on that link. It'll pop up into another window in your browser, and then just copy that link inside of the OData pop-up once you've selected the OData feed, and then you're going to enter that inside of this for this URL, and then click OK. Once that happens, it's going to ask you to sign in. So you're going to want to sign in through your organizational account and put in your credentials, select the organizational data URL that you want, and click Save. And then you'll be connected to the OData feed inside of CRM. So that's going to connect to the database in CRM Online. And then what you'll have come up is going to be a navigator that allows you to select what tables you'd like to look at. So today we're going to work with the opportunity set, but you have all of these different entities that you can select for your data, which, as you can imagine, that allows you to do a lot of reporting, a lot of analysis that you wouldn't normally be able to do with the standard dashboards out of the box with CRM. So once you've selected the opportunity set, which is what I selected here, if you hover over it, what's nice is that a pop-out shows up and it gives you an example of what kind of data is in that table. So if you're not really sure if you wanted to see the opportunity closed set versus the opportunity set, or whatever entity that you're looking at, you can just hover over it and it'll pop out and you can take a look and see what are the fields that you're working with. And then once you've selected the field or the set that you want to bring into your Excel workbook, then you'll go down to the section at the bottom where it says Load, and I highly recommend that you do a Load To and then select Only Create the Connection. And the reason that I say this is that for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's faster, so you're actually not loading the data inside of the worksheet. You're just working with the metadata and some previews of the data. And it also, when you're uploading to Power BI, there's some limitations as to the size of the file. And without getting into too much detail, what happens is it keeps the file small because the data is not actually in the workbook. And then down here where it says add to data to the data model, we're going to add it to the data model, which launches it into Power Pivot. And Power Pivot allows you to work with the data without increasing the size of the workbook very much. So it's all around making sure your file is the right size and it's fast and easy to work with. If you load the data into the table, then every time you make a change, it's going to query the data and it slows everything down. So just that's like a tip that when you're working with this will keep some frustration out of working with these types of reports. I did get a question here. Can you use Power Query with an on-premise CRM? And sure you can. I'm not going to demonstrate that today, but we certainly can do that. Once I've gotten I loaded my, or I made my connection, what happens is in the workbook, you have this query and it says data is disabled. And then what that allows you to do is it allows you to go in and edit the data set. So I hovered over it, I can click on the edit button, and then it's going to launch into another window. And what we're looking at here is a preview. The data is in, here it says on the bottom, the data is in a preview. It's been truncated, so you're working with the metadata really, and this is where you can change the name of your columns, you can expand, delete, move things around, change field types, that type of thing, before the data actually becomes live. So this is a great way that you can work with your data before you actually have the real data inside of your workbook. So let's kind of take a look at this here. Let me go and share my screen. And we'll go through a few different workbooks here. But first of all, if I was just going to open up a brand new Excel workbook, like I showed you in the slides, you've got Power Query and Power Pivot at the top, and I'm looking at blank data. So when I go to Power Query, I have multiple different ways that I can access different types of data. One of the things that's nice is that sometimes you want to mash together data from maybe an outside data source. I've got some customers in the food business, and sometimes they ask me how they can look at commodities and things like that. Marketing people want to take a look at demographics, for example. So they might want to compare United States demographics to how they're selling in certain states. And I've got a little bit of an example of that here coming up soon. But if you wanted to get external data just from an online search, you just click on the online search, and then just like a regular browser, I can type in U.S. demographics, and what it does is it searches the internet for some data. And so then I can hover, like I showed you before, membership, religion, demographics of the United States. So here's a data set that I could bring in, and it's showing me different years and so forth. Vital statistics, so we're looking at years and births and deaths and things like that. Historical population, so you kind of get the idea. All I did was do a search, and then what I would do is in this case, I would probably go into edit. I'd decide what I want in my query, and then I would load it to the workbook or just the model. Go back to closing the search, and then Power Query. You can, if you know that you have data on a website, you can access it from here. If you'd like to access files that are on your computer, you can access Excel, CSVs, XMLs, text files. And then you have your database connections. So you can connect straight to a SQL Server database. So for example, if you've got ERP and CRM in your environment and you want to be able to access directly to the SQL database, you can do that here. If you've got analysis services running where you've got cubes with data in them, you can access analysis services through here. And then you have other sources, and that's where your OData feed comes in that you're going to connect to CRM. You also have other types of data as well. I mean, you can even connect to Facebook if you want. I did that for fun one day, and all of my friends' phone numbers or email addresses were in there. So there's all different types of things. I think marketing sometimes might be working in the social environment. So if you really did need to connect to your Facebook account and maybe set up a marketing list or something like that, this is where you could do that. Makes things real easy. And then here are going to be your recent sources. So once I've made a connection, just like I made a connection to my OData feed in my environment, you don't have to go back in here every time you want to use it and make a connection. So it saves you time once you've got that set up. So here you can see I've connected to CRM, I've connected to a cube, some outside data sources, Facebook, some files on my desktop, all different types of data I've connected to in the past. So if I just wanted to connect straight to my OData source, I just click here, and then just like before in the slides, you can see that it'll pop up inside of your navigator. And depending on your connection, this is usually pretty efficient. And then you can select which entity you would like to work with. So I'm going to get out of this workbook. There it goes. I'm going to get out of this workbook and look at something that I have already connected to. So one of the first things that I did here is I wanted to look at my opportunities. This is a work in progress here. So I wanted to see my opportunities and the goals that are set inside of CRM. I wanted to compare those together, maybe create some KPIs, do some manipulation, and then also I added a date table in here so that I can use my dates and date hierarchies inside of my Power View reports. So this is what I added in here. So for example, I can go into my opportunities and click edit, and what I'm looking at is the actual data. Here we can move columns around. We could change names just by simply right-clicking and maybe rename that column if I wanted to do that. There's also another thing too, is if you're working with one report and maybe you want to kind of make a copy, or you spent a lot of time manipulating this data and you'd like to copy it over to a new workbook, over here on the left-hand side, you can fly out your actual queries. Right-click on the query that you want to pull over to another workbook and go into the advanced editor. And then what you can do is just copy this query that was created after you've done all of your manipulation and paste it into another workbook, and it will do exactly what you wanted to do. It saves you a whole bunch of time when you're trying to make multiple copies of different reports. Also, while you're manipulating your data in here, you've got applied steps that are created on the right-hand side. So at any point, you can go back and delete a step or change a step by going into this panel here. You can see that I've expanded a lot of columns. I removed some columns, reordered them. If I wanted to go back and change any of this, I could just click on that section, and it goes back to that spot. So I can't really tell what I did there, but you get the idea that I can just go back into my previous steps, and the whole workbook will go back to that value. So once I've done what I needed to in here, what you would do is you'd go and close and load. It's loaded, and because it shows that it's loaded into Power Pivot, into the data model. And you can see that I don't have any actual data inside of my workbook, and I did that on purpose. When I go into Power Pivot, then we can manage the data to another extent. So here, if you've ever worked with Power Pivot before, then it's going to work the same way that you know how to use Power Pivot. Once that pops up, we're going to have 3 tables. We're going to have our opportunity set, our goals, and our calendar. Not a good time for slowness. So let's see. Maybe I'll just open up another example that I have prepared for us here. And we'll close that one. Very good. All right. So here's another one that I was working on to show you today. This one's a little bit different. In this example, what I did was I wanted to mash together data from different sources. So I went out and selected data from my cubes that are on this machine, and then I grabbed some demographic data. So here's a cube, my sales query here, and then I also have a table with states, and then I have my U.S. demographics. And the reason I did this is I just wanted to be able to create a relationship between my demographics and my sales query so that I could create a report that would tell me how I'm selling in a particular state, and then what's the population and potentially racial makeup of that particular state. And then I was adding my opportunities in here as well. So if I wanted to make a relationship between my opportunities, I'd have to find a relationship between these tables, and then I can go and create my Power View report. When I'm ready to create my Power View report, one thing that's kind of interesting is that you kind of wonder, where is the data? Because there is no actual data inside of my workbook. So all you would do is just go into Insert, select Power View, and a new workspace pops up, and the data that you want to work with shows up in the right-hand side. A little tip, the tables with the dark lines across the top here, I know it's probably hard to see on your screen, these are from Power Pivot, and then the one that doesn't have the dark line, this happens to be in the workbook. So for this example, if I wanted to see my states, so I'm going to grab state, so I'm going to click state, and then I want to see what are my sales in that state. So we'll look at our sales amount in that state. And then maybe I also want to see what's the population in that state. So I've created that relationship between the two, and now I can see that if I maybe sort by population, I can see that California being the biggest state, I'm producing a good level of sales in that state, sort by sales amount, and then we can see that we do have some states with high populations and not very much growth. So this could indicate that this would be a growth state for my company or something of that nature. So this is the example of mashing together different data sources. So in this workbook, so here's our Power BI report. Here's my population by state. I've got pipeline summary, so we can see that estimated value by customer, close probability. It's all interactive, so if I just wanted to see AdventureWorks, I can click on my slicer over here and look at different companies at a time, and then I can see the different opportunities that are open for those particular customers and what their close probability is. We'll clear our filter, and then right from the bar chart as well, we could select Prosware and then look at the opportunities that they have in the pipeline and what their close probability is. So I think you get the idea. There's a lot of different things that we can do inside of Power View, Power Pivot, and Power Query, and we can get extremely advanced in here as well. But once we're done, once we've created the report that we want to be able to display it inside of Power BI and then eventually get it inside of our CRM dashboard. So the way that we'll do that is first, let's go take a look at what Power BI is. Get rid of these workbooks and close the rest of these down and get right inside of Power BI. All right. So here, I've got us opened up to, here is our internal intranet. So here's our, our SharePoint site. So we can see that internally we've got different areas we can go to. So this is a nice feature for your end users. They can come in here, they can get their news, discussion boards, and so forth. And then they can also have sales and marketing and their Power BI site all in the same place. So if I just select sales and marketing, I can go over to Power BI, open that up, and then we can see that inside of Office 365, we have multiple different reports that we can access. So I've got some featured reports here. Here's that pipeline summary we were just looking at. And here is gross profit by state. And then we have a Contoso sales analysis. So these are the three that I'm looking at. So if I wanted to upload a new BI report that I just created, we just go down here to add BI documents, real simple, and then just upload the file. Browse our computer, and for this one, let's just take this one right here. Open, click OK. And then it's going to upload the report that I built right on my desktop. And as it's loading, there we go. So now once I'm in Power BI, I can actually open up any of these reports and take a look just by clicking on it from the browser. There we go, Contoso sales analysis. So here we're looking at our KPIs, our goal for the current quarter. We're projected to close 9 million. Revenue to date, 143. So we're 95% to goal. Looks like we're going to make it. We can also see that we have this one being able to make it. Looks like Veronica has to close Northwind Traders, which is $3.9 million of our goal, and it's 316 days open. So this is giving me an indication that I might need to go and help Veronica and make sure that we get that one closed for the quarter. It's very interactive, just like before, so we can click on, what do we have in the $3 million range, different ranges of projected closing. And this workbook, this report has 3 different pages to it. So I can see that our opportunities closed and then our opportunities open. So we can work with our BI dashboard right inside of Power BI. We go back to our BI site, then we can set up different favorite BI sites that we can go to and access those reports through our browser. So the other way that we can access Power BI is through the mobile application, which you can use on, there we go. So we have a mobile application so you can use inside of Windows 8 tablet devices. So here's the same report. We can get those. And here's the other ones that I worked with, our Power View mashups. And then just like we did earlier, we can just access those right through our tablet. Okay. So let's go see where we were. So we did our demo on uploading our report to Power BI. And the next thing is we want to be able to create a dashboard displaying these reports inside of CRM. So let's get started on that. All right. So what you would want to do is go right into CRM, and we'll just start as if we just logged in. There we go. So we want to build a new dashboard. So we're going to do that just like we normally would. We'd go into our settings in CRM. You're probably going to want to create a solution to work with instead of customizing the system. So I'm going to go into my solution that I've created. And then we'll go down to our dashboards. And then simply create a new dashboard. Because the Power View reports need a lot of real estate, what I choose when I'm building these are the 2-column regular dashboard. I click Create. And I'm going to just put it into one of these areas. So let's do this for, we'll call this MS Dynamics World Dashboard. And little tip is that I tried to figure out how do I delete these? I only need one of these on the dashboard. Well, I looked up here, I couldn't find it. Well, finally I realized that you just click on it and you hit the delete button on your keyboard, and that's how you get rid of these other sections. So then you want to make it large enough so that you have enough space for your Power BI report. So we're going to increase our width a couple of times, and then we're going to increase our height a couple of times, 3 times, maybe 4. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to select Insert an iframe. And we need to take the URL that we have for our BI report and place it in here. So we'll go back and we'll select the report that we're working with. Let's go back on the first page. And right here, just copy our URL and then go back to building our dashboard. We'll paste URL in there. We trust the source. We're going to uncheck this box for restricting cross-frame scripting. Click OK. and save, close, and then publish. Once it's published, there we go. Save and close. And now let's go into CRM, refresh it. And then go back to our dashboards. So then we're going to select our MS Dynamics, oh, and I spelled it wrong. MS Dynamics World Dashboard. And there you have it. So now we have our Power BI report inside of our dashboard in CRM. It works the same way that it did on the Power BI site by interacting and allowing us to see multiple pages on one screen. What I also did on this one that I did earlier, not that it's the greatest example of reports, but I wanted to demonstrate that you can actually have multiple Power View reports in your dashboard at the same time. So I have one report over here in this area, one in this area. This one happens to be a pivot table and not a Power BI, a Power View report. So I can work with it, select my slicers. It's interactive. And then if I really wanted to get a larger view or more real estate on this particular report, I can just view this as a full-size workbook. It accesses Power BI, and then I can see this report on my screen and work with it inside the browser. Same thing goes for this one. So we can launch that at the same time. And then we have two Power BI reports open, and we can analyze our data more easily. All right, there we go. So let's see. So before we go with start answering questions, let's just review what we did. We created a very simple Power BI report. There's lots of different ways that you can access your data. Once you've created your report, KPIs, built your Power View, then you're just going to simply upload it to Power BI, the website, and then create a new dashboard accessing an iframe with the URL to the report that you want to see, publish it, and voila, you have your dashboard, your Power BI dashboard inside of CRM. So let's go with some questions. Let me get a minute to read some of these. Someone said, I think I answered my own question. One of them says, this is always live data. It's not necessarily always live data. You have the opportunity or the ability to refresh the data automatically in Power BI, and it kind of depends also where you're pulling that data from. So if you're pulling it from a cube and it's refreshed nightly, then you've got daily data versus real-time data inside of CRM. Let's see, will this recording be available? Yes, Jason, I believe, always makes these available so that you can see them. And if I skip over your questions, it might be because I need to check on a few things and get back to you. So I will always reply to these questions after the presentation if I miss your question. Let's see. Do you happen to know if Power BI works with regular traditional Excel instead of Office 365? The answer is yes. And, you know, Power BI encompasses Power View, Power Query, Power Pivot, and Power Maps. And you certainly can do all of that. I actually did all of that right on my desktop here, and it doesn't become part of the Power BI with Office 365 until I upload it. So yes, the answer is you can do all of the things that I showed you, leaving out the part of uploading it and then presenting it in CRM. All right, some of these are let's see. Jason, they're asking where they're going to be able to find the presentation.
Yeah, the presentation will be when the recording is up. It will be on our YouTube channel, and we'll also post it to a page in the webcast section on msdynamicsworld.com. So if you can look in the upper right corner, you'll see a webcasts link, and that's where all the available webcasts are shown and can be filtered by topics like BI.
Okay.
Or Dynamics CRM. Yeah.
Great. And I have another question here. Any chance to bring the data offline? And the answer is yes. Let me see if I can do it live. See if I can. I don't typically want to answer questions like that live, but let's give it a shot, right? Let's go take a look at the desktop here. You can download a copy of the report that you're looking at. So let's go to. Oops. Let's open up this report. So the answer is yes. You can download a copy of the report. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and work. What I did was I opened it up into full workbook view and then go into File, Save As, and then I can download a copy of this onto my desktop. The other thing that I wanted to make sure, I'm glad I went back to here because I skipped over something. Another nice thing about Power BI as well is going to be your Power BI question and answer search box. So let me get in there and show you what that is. So go into the Power BI site. And then over in the upper right-hand corner, I can say ask with Power BI question and answer. So I can click in here and then just say, type in there, show me opportunities. And it just very quickly finds the data that I'm looking for, shows me opportunities. I can see who the owner is, potential customer, the status, estimated revenue, probability of closing, and the sales stage. And then if I find data that I want to work with, then map wouldn't look good in here because we don't have a state, but I can change the type of chart that I want to look at. We can also go ahead and type something else in there, like show me sales. So it shows me my unit cost, unit price, show me geography, and then look at map. And now I can see different things, all ad hoc based on the data that's inside of Power BI. And it looks like there's some questions in here that I'd like to give more detailed answers to, so I'll write something up so that I can take care of some of these. And get back to you, because some of them are actually like error and tech support type questions. So I'll go and research those for you and get you the answers. I think that's great. Jason, I'm wrapped up in 40 minutes. It's about what I planned. Do you have anything that you want to add?
All right, great. No, I want to thank everyone in the audience for their great questions, and yeah, we will make sure Tom gets a look at the rest of the transcript here for any follow-ups. Thanks so much for your time today, Tom.
Thank you, Jason. I enjoy it.
All right, as always, glad to have you back. That concludes today's session. It has been recorded, and with that, I will say thanks and have a great day.
Bye-bye, everyone.